Just a few days ago, on January 6th, we watched as President Donald Trump gave a speech regarding his place in the 46th presidential election. Trump went on to tell his supporters that the election was stolen from him, rigged, and unfair. Among all of his other comments were the ones that some believed led to a forceful protest at the Capitol building. Trump stated that those who were at his rally should march down to the Capitol following his speech. One comment in particular that is being ridiculed is, "We fight like hell, and if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore," which was then followed by a large group breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, and defacing property. The following is a clip from his speech.
And again, most people would stand there at 9 o'clock in the evening and say, "I want to thank you very much," and they go off to some other life. But I said, something's wrong here. Something's really wrong. Can't have happened. And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Following the attacks, reporters, police, and many others are wondering what kind of response Donald Trump will receive for supposedly leading his supporters to perform lawless acts. Was Trump under his First Amendment right of the freedom of speech, or was this another instance of Brandenburg versus Ohio? And if so, did it come to the same conclusion?
That's a good question, but for those who don't know, could you explain what exactly the Brandenburg versus Ohio case was about?
Of course, before taking a look at this case, we should understand the First Amendment. The First Amendment was passed in December of 1791. The amendment includes the freedom of speech, which is the right to express information, ideas, and opinions free of government restrictions based on content and subject only to reasonable limitations. Now that we understand that factor, we can look at the Brandenburg case. So the case took place in rural Ohio and began when a man threatened the government. The man, Clarence Brandenburg, was a leader of the Ku Klux Klan, also known as the KKK, a terrorist group with white supremacist ideals that is associated with violent crimes against marginalized groups such as immigrants, Catholics, Jews, and African Americans. One day, Clarence called up a reporter and invited him to broadcast a KKK meeting he was holding in Hamilton, Ohio, during the summer of 1964. As a result, the meeting had a high level of publicity and was broadcasted live to Hamilton citizens via television and radio. During his meeting, Brandenburg expressed wanting to get revenge on the government for suppressing the white race. In addition, he slid in a comment about a possible march in Washington, D.C. The KKK leader was then slammed with the conviction of violating the Ohio Syndicalism Law. The Ohio Syndicalism Law, enacted in 1919, made it a crime to advocate for a political change through violent means, which Brandenburg was insinuating with his plan to march through Washington, D.C. Brandenburg decided to fight his conviction, stating that it violated his First Amendment right to freedom of speech. After going on trial multiple times, the Supreme Court made the final decision to overturn Brandenburg's conviction, stating that the government cannot convict him for creating abstract threats of violence, meaning he was not claiming to take specific violent action. Speech advocating for illegal conduct is protected by the First Amendment unless it suggests imminent lawless action.
So why did Brandenburg's statements not qualify as imminent lawless action, and what exactly is imminent lawless action?
Imminent lawless action means a legal activity that is going to occur immediately. While Brandenburg's statements suggested violence, he did not say that it was going to happen immediately or anytime soon for that matter. Therefore, he was protected by the First Amendment. And that brings us up to date.
Well, thank you for explaining the Brandenburg case. It was a pretty important event in history.
No problem. And yes, I would agree that it was pretty important.
So back to the question at hand. Should Trump's speech be protected under the First Amendment, or should he be charged for inciting imminent lawless action? Based on what we've learned and listening to professional opinions, his speech should be protected by the First Amendment. While the speech may have been the cause of the damage at the Capitol, he never told his supporters to act immediately. Therefore, he should not be convicted of any crimes.
That's right. Thank you for explaining.
Of course. Thank you to our viewers for tuning into our news report. Have a beautiful afternoon.